Every gardener knows the frustration of tending perennials that simply refuse to perform. You prune, you mulch, you water, you even throw compost at them year after year, yet some plants just sit there, alive, but barely. It's easy to blame the plant or the weather, but honestly, 9 times out of 10, the real issue is happening underground. The root zone isn't receiving the long-term nutrition it needs, and that's exactly why this old, rarely discussed trick works so unbelievably well. It feeds perennials not for a season, but for years. I stumbled onto this method after watching older gardeners work their orchards, berry patches, and herb stands with an odd ritual that didn't look like composting, fertilizing, or mulching. And when I asked why they did it, they gave me the same answer. Compost is too slow. This feeds the roots straight away. They were right. This method changed everything I knew about perennial feeding. The truth is simple but overlooked. Compost feeds the soil in general, not the roots specifically. It sits on top, breaking down slowly, and much of its nutrients diffuse outward rather than downward. Annuals benefit quickly because their feeder roots sit shallow, but perennials are different. Their feeder roots grow deeper, wider, and more permanently. They form a network that wants long-term, slow-release minerals, not quick bursts of nitrogen. When compost can't reach those deep root systems in time, perennials behave like they're starving. You'll see weak growth, small leaves, poor flowering, and even nutrient deficiency symptoms despite your best efforts. The root zone trick bypasses this entire problem by putting nutrition exactly where the perennial wants it, right into the zone where its feeder roots actually eat. Instead of dumping compost on the surface and just hoping it seeps down, this method actually feeds the perennial from below. The concept is simple. You dig a shallow ring around the plant at the drip line, create a trench, fill it with long-lasting organic material, and then let the roots take over. This buried ring, it actually becomes a permanent feeding belt. As it breaks down over months and years, the nutrients release directly into the feeder roots. It's kind of like creating a slow-release fertilizer system, custom-built by nature itself. Perennials feed from their outer roots, not the center. So, when gardeners pile compost near the base of the plant, they're feeding the wrong area. Even worse, they risk rot, pests, and poor airflow. The buried feeding ring sits exactly where the feeder roots extend, giving the plant nutrition in the zone it actually uses. The ingredients you bury break down slowly and, pretty predictably. Instead of a sudden nutrient flush, the decomposition process creates a steady flow of minerals and microbial activity. This balanced release is just ideal for perennials, which prefer consistent feeding rather than sudden surges. Another benefit is water retention. Buried organic matter holds moisture like a sponge, keeping the root zone hydrated during drought periods. In winter, it protects the roots from temperature swings. In summer, it moderates heat. Honestly, few methods deliver this level of year-round soil support. Start by finding the plant's drip line, the imaginary circle beneath where the outermost leaves end. This is where the feeder roots live. Dig a shallow trench along this line, roughly the depth of your hand and about as wide. You don't need to disturb the roots. You're simply carving out a space for long-term nutrition. Into this trench, add a mix of materials that break down slowly and feed the soil over time. You're not using finished compost. You're using the things compost eventually becomes: shredded bark, leaf mold, small wood chips, aged manure, or partially decomposed straw. These materials release minerals slowly but steadily, just the way deep-rooted plants prefer. Once filled, cover the trench with the native soil you removed. Water it deeply to activate microbial life and help the materials settle into contact with the soil network. The roots will soon grow into this feeding belt, using it as a long-term pantry. Perennials respond to this trick with strength, not speed. You won't get a sudden burst of unnatural growth, but instead you'll see deeper color, thicker stems, stronger branching, and more resilient new shoots. Plants that once wilted easily develop better drought tolerance. Those that barely bloomed suddenly push out larger flowers or fruit. Over time, berry bushes become heavier producers. Fruit trees, well, they hold on to their blossoms longer, Herbs stop going woody and instead start pushing out lush, flavorful growth. And, honestly, the best part, you don't need to redo the feeding ring every single season. Many gardeners just refresh it every 2 years, and some only every 3. Compost is wonderful, but it's not the best standalone feed for perennials. These plants really thrive on deep, stable, structural nutrition, something surface composting just can't fully deliver. The buried feeding ring, though, solves that problem entirely, putting the nutrients right where those long-lived roots want them. Try this method just once and you'll see why seasoned growers rely on it. Your perennials will repay you with the kind of steady, vibrant growth that lasts through the years. If this guide helped you revive your perennials, don't forget to subscribe and share. Your fellow gardeners will thank you for it.